Okay, hello everybody. Today I'm going to review a textbook, one of the best textbook I think is available for TOEIC study, for the TOEIC test, especially if you have a score anywhere above 500, I would say. 500 or even higher, that this is probably the best book I would recommend for studying for the TOEIC test to improve your score. So the book is by Oxford Press, and the name of the book is Tactics for the TOEIC Test. And of course, this is for the most common form of the TOEIC test, for the listening and reading test. The book I'm going to review is the Introductory Course, which is the same book as the full course. Actually, there are two books, and this is half of the other book, but the content structure is the same. So, Tactics for the TOEIC Test. And why I recommend this book is because it mirrors exactly the TOEIC test. It has the same structure as the TOEIC test. There's no fluff, there's no extra things that you have to study, extra vocabulary, but everything flows according to the test. And the tactics and the strategies presented in this book is really, I think, is the best way that you could prepare yourself for the test. So I will show you first. Again, this is the introductory book, and this book has actually two sets of TOEIC units. As you see, the TOEIC test has 7 different units, 4 for the listening and other 3 for the actual reading. And this book has different types of for each of the different units in the TOEIC, and as you say, there are 2 sets of lessons. That means you can practice the same kind of tactics twice. The other book, which is the full book, has 4 sets. The only difference is really that they have 4 sets. There's more different practices that you can do, but the structure is the same. So I'm going to talk about each of these briefly, how you can use this book the best way to prepare. So of course the first, let me show you quickly, the part 1 of the TOEIC test is what we call the photographs, right? You can see right here. And in this book, the structure is always the same. First, they present you a different kind of strategies. What is the best way for preparing this part of the TOEIC tests? So this one I presented here, photographs, tells you to look for the key vocabularies, mostly nouns and verbs, and imagine what the picture is talking about. Think about a couple of nouns or a couple of verbs that represented in the pictures, and then probably you understand what's going on. Also, they have many different types of different type of strategies in the beginning, and there's also test tips. So the test tips gives you a good idea on a different kind of tips of how to prepare for that. And after that, they give you kind of a practice run, and you can practice the TOEIC tests. Now, by the way, this is just a student book, but I recommend, of course, for preparation, if you study by yourself, that you buy the whole set. And as you see, the set has other things inside. There is actually a script, an audio script, and an answer key. There's another book. And then you have 2 full tests you can practice. And most importantly, you have the audio CDs. And the audio CDs gives you, of course, all the audios for the book for your different kind of practice tests. So again, that is a good way to prepare, is that you do the techniques, and after that you do the practice test. And here there's only 3 pictures, but it's a good idea. And then as a review after that, and a couple of other language building exercises you can do if you like, but if you don't have much time, then I would skip that one. And there's again and then finally there's another mini tests, and the mini tests is another good way to prepare for the test, because you can time yourself, and that's exactly the same how a TOEIC test looks like. And then here's in the corner you have the actual different options you can fill out, you can pencil in as in a real test, and it tells you exactly also the time you should spend on it, so it's you really have like a real test environment. Okay, so I quickly run through the other ones, but the structure in each of the units is the same. Tells you what type of the test is in the TOEIC test. It tells you there's a question response type of test on part 2, and then give you a couple of key vocabularies to work on, and then after that it tells you the different kind of test tactics, how to prepare for these tests. It gives you a couple of ideas for this. For example, think about meaning, avoid same word distractions, or avoid related word distractions. So again, there's a couple of test tips you can always see on the sides. Gives you the different tactics, and then helps you to practice those tactics. Once you practice those tactics, and again there's another short test practice and a couple of key vocabularies. Again, if you don't have time, I would skip these. The most important is that you look at the tactics for each of the units, and after the tactics you have a tactic practice that is connected. The key vocabularies, if you want, you can skip. Again, it depends on your time. If you really have short time to prepare for the test, I would skip that. You can do a couple of language buildings, but the key would be after that is that you do the mini test at the end. And the mini test again gives you a real test environment, and you can do it from the audio CD. So same with the other ones. Again, number 3, conversation type of a test, part 3 of the TOEIC test. Couple of key vocabularies, you can do this for practice. Then after that I would go for the test tactics again, read it, what is the best way to prepare for this type of unit, and then tactic practice these ideas. Key vocabularies, again, you can skip if you want, if you don't have enough time. And then after that, the really important is the mini tests. Okay, so same with the other ones. Again, this is the 4th part, the talks, which is very similar to the part 3, and you do the same thing. And then you have the other units. Unit 5 from this one is reading. Okay, this is you see the incomplete sentences, same structure. So again, just to give you an idea, of course, if you have a lot of time and if you really want to prepare well, then you can read everything in this book. But if you don't have much time, and also maybe let's say your English is really more on the lower side, on the 500 point level, not on the 700 or 800 level, then maybe this is, of course, is a full English book. There are no explanation in other languages like in Japanese. I'm in Japan, so of course I'm talking to the Japanese audience, and there is no explanation in Japanese, so obviously that might be a little bit tiring for some people and difficult. So if you don't have much time and it's really difficult for the level of English here, what I would do again is that I narrow down and just focus on the important part. So again, to give you an idea, if you want to do that, I would go a little bit on the key vocabulary. Then after that, you go to test tactic. Okay, skip the other page. Test tactic. Read the tactics that the book suggests for you how to prepare for this unit, and then you do the practice with this. Sorry, the book. And yeah, and after that, you can skip the other parts. And you go to the mini tests. It always says mini tests, and you do the mini test and time yourself, and after you finish this one, you check the answer key and then see what's your score, and then you go this one. And since this book has 2 sets, again you see 1 and then 2 sets of units, then you can go through these things twice, and then it gives you better time and more time to really understand what is the best technique and how to, it gives you enough practice. I think there are 2 sets. If you have the full book that has 4 sets, so it even give you more time to practice. And then I would definitely just focus on the important parts, the vocabulary, the tactic practice, and the mini test only. Okay, and again, in the set, if you have the set, you have 2 complete tests here, previous TOEIC tests that you can time yourself for the full tests, and then it gives you a good idea of how good you are. And of course the answer key is there as well. A couple of more points I would give for the best way to prepare for TOEIC tests. First of all, timing is very important. Time management is crucial because you have limited time and everything is only told you once during the listening, of course, listening exercise, nothing is repeated. But also at the reading part, you have a lot of reading to do with a very limited time. So I would really focus on practicing a lot of the tactics so you can manage your time well. Do not spend a lot of time on one answer. If you're really not sure about it, then think only for a few seconds. I would guess in average you have about 30 seconds per question. That's actually very, very low, very small amount of time. So and then best way is to break it down even to shorter. I would maximum spend about 20 seconds in the beginning, because what I would suggest that you really focus on going forward and moving forward as fast as you can, and then when you have time at the end, you revisit some of the questions that you couldn't do and you skipped. So I would again, don't spend too much time. If you really don't know the answers in 20 seconds, that probably is not worth to spend more time at that point, but you move on to the next. And then that is during the reading, of course. I'm talking about when you have a lot more questions and very limited time. And then the second point is that importance again with the time management is that the harder questions are later. It always gets more difficult toward the end and you will get tired. That's why it's better to really just keep moving and moving and moving and really practice a lot the type of questions you have, so you have more time at the end toward the difficult questions. When they're really, again, the unit 7 is really the most difficult. You have lots of readings to do. Sometimes you have 2 different texts to read for the same questions, and you really need a lot of time for that. So time management is essential for the TOEIC test. Many people can't finish it at all, and many times if you have 20 or 30 or 40 or more questions left at the end and those are all unanswered, then you will lose a lot of points. So manage your time well, really practice a lot, and leave most of your time toward the end when you get to the unit 6 and unit 7, when it really needs a lot of mental and energy to really focus on answering those. Okay, if you have any questions, let me know, but I hope that helps you out of how to follow the techniques in this book, and have a good TOEIC test. See ya.